I've spent the last 5 years trying to learn as much as I can online about business building, communication, marketing. And I think the main thing I've learned is that it's just really, really hard to learn. No matter how many books I read, podcasts I listen to, courses that I do, keeping the stuff in and actually holding on to all the insights and wisdom and knowledge and experience in all the stuff I consume is just really tricky. So I want to talk today about the 3 steps to learn a bit more effectively. This is going to be a quick one today, but I just think this is really important because we live in a world where there's all this unlimited free information online and we're trying to glean as much of it as possible to use for our own careers, our own businesses, our own lives, whatever it is we're doing. But the reality is it's really hard to hold on to stuff. So 3 things. You've got input at the top. This is before the 3 things start. Input comes in, and that can be reading stuff, listening to stuff, watching stuff, whatever it is. Input comes in, and it's really easy for us to convince ourselves that as long as we get lots of input, we'll learn lots. But input isn't learning. It's not the kind of digestion and processing that needs to happen. It's just input. It's just putting stuff in your mouth. Nothing's necessarily getting absorbed. And so the 3 things we want to focus on are to do with the digestion, the processing of the food, if you like, that we're consuming so that it actually gets used and can go into our bodies rather than just passing straight through. 3 things. These are really simple and pretty self-explanatory, but if you're anything like me, it's helpful having a bit of a process to follow. So the first one, reflect. Once you consume any content, once you listen to any kind of course, genuinely the first thing to do that most people just don't think about is just reflect. Spend a bit of time thinking about the thing you've just heard or the thing you've just read. Don't just rush straight onto the next YouTube video. Don't just click straight onto the next podcast. Spend some time reflecting. What stood out? What was helpful? What did you not already know before? What was a surprise? Even just the act of recalling something in your mind does that first step of starting to solidify it a little bit. So that's the first one, reflect. The second thing is to implement. So you've got reflect and then it goes to implement. And a lot of the time when we consume stuff, we just kind of put it away in our brain somewhere as if we've got this hard drive inside and we can just log all these ideas and hold on to them forever. But the reality is, unless we implement them quite quickly and start actually doing something about it, we just forget it so fast. And so figure out a way as soon as possible to actually implement the thing that you've heard, the thing that you've understood, the thing that you've learned, so that you can start to solidify it as part of your reality, part of the way that you experience the world. And then the third thing is just to share it. There's this idea that clarity comes from articulation. And as we practice articulating things, which is part of why I'm doing this YouTube channel, as I practice articulating stuff, it allows my brain to get so much more clarity about the things I'm talking about. I figure out how to reform the words that I'm sharing in a way that makes sense to you, and therefore to me. It teaches my brain and all the little neural pathways in there how to process the ideas that I'm dealing with. And it also brings up opportunities for other people to question the stuff that I'm talking about, which lets me look even deeper into things that I don't fully understand and recognize where the holes are, where the cracks are. So sharing what we know, whether it's with a friend, whether it's online like this, or even just in a journal that we come back to a couple of weeks later, is the really, really key final step in solidifying learning. So we reflect, we implement, and then we share. And that means we're not just wasting all this time that we're inputting stuff into our mind, but it actually starts to become some of who we are.